What is up, guys, and welcome back. Before I begin, you must be wondering, why am I in the kitchen? Well, that is because today I'll be showing you how to make a very simple snack that you can make anytime you feel hungry and you just want something to eat, which is a traditional American grilled cheese sandwich, but with a twist. You see, instead of using regular ingredients, today I'll be using a much healthier option of those ingredients. You see, when you make a sandwich, you feel guilty of the calories and such, but by using these healthy ingredients, you won't have to feel guilty at all. So, before we begin, I think it's best if I show you the ingredients that I will be using to make the sandwich today. So, here it is, the ingredients that we will be using to make the sandwich today. You see, a typical grilled cheese sandwich would usually consist of white bread, cheddar cheese, butter, and olive oil. But because we're making a healthier version of it, we will instead be substituting most of the ingredients that is usually used. Instead of using white bread, we will be using wholemeal bread instead. Now, you can use any bread that you want actually, but because we're going for a healthier substitute, I would be using wholemeal bread. Plus, when the bread is toasted, it gets very crispy. Now, for the cheese, instead of using cheddar cheese, I would highly suggest we use super slim cheese because 60% less fat and all. But be forewarned, when we're using slim cheese, it gets a bit sticky, and I'll show you later on why. And for the butter, instead of using regular butter, we will be using unsalted butter. And make sure the butter is at room temperature as well, because it will be easier to spread on the bread as well. And if you're wondering where's the olive oil, well, for this one, we will be needing olive oil because the butter itself will be the substitute for the olive oil. So I guess now that I've shown you all the ingredients that we will be using to make the sandwich, I think it's best if we just get started. So before we actually start toasting the entire sandwich, we first need to prepare the bread. And for that, it's very simple. Just grab 2 pieces of wholemeal bread and then just start spreading the butter on it. Now for this one, you can put as much butter as you want because the more butter you put on the bread, the crispier the toast will be when we start cooking it. And you really want that crunchy, crispy feeling when you chew on the sandwich. Also, make sure that you actually get the sides as well because we don't want a crispy center but a less crispy sides. So make sure when you butter the bread, you get the sides as well. As you can see here, I'm not really good at buttering bread. It's not really my specialty, but I make it work, I guess. Okay, now that we got one bread buttered, now we do the other one. And done. Now that we have our buttered bread, let's get to the fun part. Okay, so before you start cooking, you want to turn on the heat first and leave the pan on for around a minute or so to let the pan heat up so it'll cook a lot faster. You can run it on low heat or medium heat, but for me, I suggest to run it on low heat. Okay, once the pan is all heated up, first you put the butter in there. You want to put a little bit of butter. We're using some assistance here. So you put the butter in there and let it melt for a few seconds. You see, because the pan is very hot, the butter melts very easily. Spread a little bit as well if you want. So once the butter has melted, you put the bread in. And then you can just spread it around like this. Just spread the butter around. Now for this part, you leave the bread toasting for around a minute or so just to let it get crispier and golden. While that's happening, you go grab the cheese. Okay, so for this one, I'll be using 2 slices of the low-fat cheese. You can put as many cheese as you want, but I'll be doing 2 slices because the more the cheese, it gets too cheesy to the point where it becomes a bit hard to eat. So I'll be using 2 slices only. Now, a problem when using slim cheese is that it sticks too much to the packaging, so you may want to just rip it out and just toss it there in any way you want. So I'll just be doing it in whatever way I want actually. Now, if you're wondering why we're toasting the bread first before you put the cheese, that is because we want the cheese to start melting at the same time as the bread is toasting, so you get that wonderful flavor. A big mistake that people usually do is they put the cheese with the toast itself and then it sort of becomes a bit of a mess. But by doing like this, you'll get a more consistent, tastier result. So that's one side of the bread done. Now we'll do the other one. I'm no chef, so it doesn't really look pretty, but believe me, the taste will still be very good. And this problem doesn't really exist if you use like cheddar cheese or any other cheese that you can buy in the store. But for slim cheese, I find that it's very sticky when it comes to removing it from the plastic packaging. So once that part is done, all we need to do now is just flip the sandwich and combine it together. Just be careful for this part. Okay. So now that we have the bread and cheese and everything together, all we need to do now is just keep cooking until the bread itself has reached a level of golden crispiness that you want. Now you can press it as well to make sure that it cooks more consistently. I would suggest you press it in the middle so the middle part is also cooked, but you can press it any way you want. So now once we left it for a few minutes, you can just, by this point, just constantly flip it to check whether is it golden brown yet. You see, this is what you want. You want it to be very golden and very crispy. For me, this is perfect, but you can go a little bit longer if you want as well. I'm just going to leave it on here for a few more minutes so that it gets that perfect level of crispiness. See, very perfect right here. And you see the cheese is also started to melt out. That is good actually, because you want the cheese to be oozing out. Okay, so I think we're now more or less done. So I'm gonna grab my plate here, grab the sandwich, and put it on a plate. So here it is, a perfect golden American grilled cheese sandwich, healthy style. So I guess now come to the fun part. Okay, so now here comes the fun part, eating the sandwich. You can see just now how golden and brown and crispy the sandwich was, and here it is. Now it's cut a little bit weird because I'm cutting it, not a professional chef, but let's taste it. Very delicious indeed. And like I said, it's healthy, so you don't feel guilty eating it. So now you know how to make an American grilled cheese sandwich healthy style. I hope you can try it out at home, and I hope that it tastes delicious as this is. So, thanks for watching.